We've never had a medical emergency before on the ISS, and even in space, it's never really happened before, not for about 40 years.
For the first time in the International Space Station's 25-year history, a mission has had to be cut short due to illness. NASA says one of the 4 members from the Crew 11 mission, which landed in August, is experiencing a serious medical condition. So all 4 will come home this morning. That leaves 3 other astronauts behind. Splashdown is due at 8:41 this morning. We'll keep across that. There is a timeline already, so what we know, it's undocked. So the capsule, the mission to bring them back, it's undocked already from the space station. It's going to splash down off California. So the hatch closed at around 8:30 yesterday evening, and then undocking begins 9:45, and then undocking should have happened at 10 o'clock. We think it did happen. So yeah, splashdown in the morning in California.
Are you a big space lady?
I'm really interested in space, but what I find fascinating about this particular story is only one of them is poorly. They've actually been pictured, and people have made comment on the fact that none of them look particularly ill. And we were talking about it this morning. People who go into space are the most medically assessed people. And there's a suggestion, I think Rosie Wright was saying, that people have their appendixes out so that they can't burst in space and need emergency surgery, which would obviously be awful. So they really know these people are as fit as you can possibly be. So this is really rare for somebody to have a serious medical condition come up while you are on the space station.
You can imagine the guilt, can't you?
Well, I think you probably can. Jonathan is back with us. I think there's a little bit of a delay on the line, Jonathan, but we were just talking about how unusual this is, that these astronauts who would be so medically checked would end up in this situation. What do we actually know about the medical condition, and why all 4 are coming back down, not just the one?
Yeah, we don't know which astronaut has fallen ill. NASA just said there was an issue with a medical issue with one of them, but for privacy reasons, they didn't want to elaborate. But because these 4 astronauts traveled up together in the same spacecraft, they need to come back together in that same spacecraft. That's just kind of how the crew rotation works on the space station. So they will leave 3 astronauts behind who will have their own spacecraft to get back at a later date. In terms of kind of this being unprecedented, we've never had a medical emergency before on the ISS, and even in space, it's never really happened before, not for about 40 years since an issue on one of the Russian space stations. So we don't really know what the issue is, and obviously they are checked and they have medical supplies on board. They have syringes, defibrillators, other items for dangerous emergencies. But obviously this one was deemed serious enough to send them back today, but not so serious that they had to come back immediately. So we don't know what that might be, but there's a variety of reasons why they might need to do this.
And how long will it take? I was just going through the process for undocking from the International Space Station. How long does the actual journey take for the astronauts to get back down to Earth?
Yeah, it could be a few hours, maybe up to a day, depending on kind of the orbit you're in, where the splashdown is going to be, weather conditions, and so on. It can be relatively quick, like a little flight to somewhere else on Earth, or it can be a bit longer if there are any reasons to do so.
And finally, Jonathan, as you say, 3 other astronauts left behind on the International Space Station. Is that enough? I mean, is it going to be a bit difficult for them in the meantime before they can get another crew to replace these 4?
Yeah, they might not be doing a huge amount of science and experiments. They might not be doing all the activities they had planned, but that's enough to keep the station going. The ISS began with only 2 astronauts back in 2000. Obviously, it was only a very small car-sized space station back then. But three is enough to keep it running, a bit of a skeleton crew.
How
and
many
then another
cars?
4 are set to...
How many cars is it now, Jonathan? If it was only 1 car back then, how big is it now?
Yeah, so in 2000, it was 2 cars joined together, essentially. And now it's the size of a football field. So it's grown a little bit. So not quite as easy as it was to manage back then. But yeah, 4 more astronauts will be launching, I think, in the next month. So it won't be understaffed for too long, but it might be kind of a bit of a skeleton crew and limiting operations until then.
Well, Jonathan, thanks so much for giving us your expertise. Really interesting story. That's Jonathan O'Callaghan there, freelance space journalist, and we'll keep an eye out for when that splashdown happens.
Maybe we can even go live to it and you can hear the splashdown.
Do you want to do the countdown?
Yeah, I would like to do that. Okay. Also, I know privacy is important, but I presume this is federal money that's being used because it's NASA. So it must be costing millions, or hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars to get the people down. I'm not sure you could just say, well, yeah, someone's ill, we don't want to talk about it.
Well, they've only got them down a month early, haven't they? And they would have to get them back down and get back
private.
up.
I just think it's the very definition of not private is when you're changing an international space mission to get you home. I just think that's the point at which your privacy evaporates.
You're
slightly.
usually on the other side of this argument.
I think if public money is being spent in this way, I think we're entitled to know what's wrong with them, who's ill and why they're ill.
Public champion over here, Stig Abel. Well, we'll do you a countdown if we can find it, and we'll bring you the latest.
And I'll speculate luridly and inaccurately on who's ill and why.
Exactly.